In 1967, Guy Debord observed a structural mutation in modern capitalism. All of life had presented itself as an immense accumulation of spectacles. Everything that was directly lived had moved away into a representation. An explosion contains massive, violent energy, but isolated on a screen and looped indefinitely, it becomes entirely sterile. It is a dead image, severed from the actual physical forces that created it. Debord defined the spectacle precisely. It is a materialized worldview that has successfully colonized reality. It is a social relationship between people, mediated entirely by images. Direct, lived human experience is no longer accessible. We do not experience events, we consume the broadcast of the event. The substance of life has receded entirely into a realm of pure representation. Chapter 1 of Debord's text introduces the mechanics of separation perfected. Reality is actively severed from the individual, meticulously packaged and sold back to them as a curated image. Historically, human survival required active, communal living and direct participation in the physical world. The modern standard replaces that participation with isolated, passive consumption. The spectacle is an objective, structural reality. It operates as the economic and social operating system of late capitalism. It is not a subjective psychological illusion or a trick of advertising. This operating system strictly forbids dialogue. It broadcasts its reality downward, demanding absolute submission and total passivity from its subjects. To understand how human agency is reduced to a mediated broadcast, we must systematically dismantle the structural mechanics of this system. Modern individuals sit in deep isolation from one another. The only thing that unites them is their shared, identical separation from authentic reality. The theorists who mapped this architecture operated in mid-20th century France. Guy Debord and the Situationist International initiated a rigorous intellectual project to diagnose the mechanics of modern consumerism. They operated as a collective intellectual cohort, embedding their philosophy in historical reality rather than isolated academic abstraction. Classical Marxist critique focused on the alienation of the 19th century factory worker. The Situationists updated this architecture to account for the explosion of post-war consumerism and the invention of mass media. The Situationists mapped this core update. Human alienation expanded beyond the factory floor. Control radiates outward from production, colonizing human leisure. Free time became a new market, requiring workers to continuously consume, turning leisure into another form of labor. Under late capitalism, there is no true outside to the market. Even acts of leisure and rebellion are pre-packaged, standardized, and sold back as consumable experiences. The engine powering the spectacle is the hyper-evolved commodity. Debord mapped the evolutionary ontology of human degradation in 3 distinct historical phases. Early capitalism degraded human being into mere having, equating personal worth with material accumulation. Late capitalism executes the final shift, degrading having into appearing. Physical possession matters far less than the social prestige it broadcasts to others. A luxury watch is entirely divorced from its original use value of telling time. It exists purely as an object of status, a physical anchor for an abstract social rank. Modern capitalism has entirely ceased selling physical utility. Its primary export is now the pure, unadulterated adage of existence. The ultimate form of the spectacle is a precise social relationship. It organizes a society where people relate to each other exclusively through the mediation of images. The spatial architecture of this broadcast dictates a strict, hierarchical, one-way flow of information. The image is projected outward, the audience absorbs it entirely. Authentic response is structurally impossible. The screen speaks continuously and authoritatively, providing absolutely no mechanism for the subject to answer back. Classical regimes controlled populations through explicit force and physical coercion. The spectacle achieves a more durable compliance by controlling through seduction, pacifying the public with a hypnotic stream of entertainment. This architecture yields a profoundly alienated collective. Millions of individuals consume a shared reality simultaneously, yet they do so in absolute, unbridgeable isolation from one another. In May of 1968, a massive strike wave and student uprising attempted to violently shatter this one-way broadcast and reclaim unmediated reality. This physical rupture was a direct rejection of the appearing phase. Protesters tore up the literal streets, attempting to rip down the image to find the tangible reality buried beneath it. The theoretical demand driving this rupture was the absolute refusal of hindered, alienated leisure. They demanded an existence free from the constraints of commodified life. The spectacle absorbed these radical critiques. It stripped the revolutionary imagery of its physical threat and repackaged the aesthetics of rebellion into new, edgy commodities to be sold back to the consumer. Once rebellion is successfully commodified, the inescapable loop of the spectacle is sealed. The true existential horror of Debord's theory lies beyond this endless cycle. It is the terrifying, totalizing, unmediated silence that replaces genuine human connection once the screen finally goes dark.